Where the mind is without fear, where the head is held high, where the knowledge is free, and where the world is not broken into fragments by narrow domestic walls. For the longest time, I used to believe that I have to eventually marry a woman. So once I grow up, I will start being attracted to women. But that didn't really happen, which is why I also had a very delayed adolescence. Over the time, I started realizing that the way I feel for men is not going to go away. Around the time I was 15, 16, I had reached the lowest in my life because there was nothing left around me. People around me did not treat me very well, and I would always try to compensate for all of that by working really hard in school. My classroom was the only space sometimes that I felt powerful, or in a setting where a teacher was there, because I knew all the answers and I would feel, okay, I can own this. As I grew up, I just felt that I was tired of crying, to be very honest. I was just done with being sad and living in a world where I just kept denying myself my truth or just self-pitying. I didn't want to pity myself at all, and I felt that I deserved the fundamental right to happiness, the fundamental right to dignity. Respect is something that you earn, dignity is something that you're born with. I didn't want to live a life where I don't feel very dignified. Coming out to my sister was probably one of the most difficult decisions because back then I had not really come out to myself. My sister has also had her own journey. For example, initially she was not fine with the fact that I would want to dress up in a certain manner because she as well grew up in that heteronormative system. My parents were actually pretty shocked. For them, it was quite a journey. I do see my parents taking a little more pride than they used to in the fact that I am Mr. Gay India.
Perfect.
I had come across Mr. Gay World when I was 16, and initially I wanted to go for Mr. Gay World when I was 25, 26. But I was too impulsive. I saved up some money from my internship and right away just went out there and applied online. In that entire room, I remember where there were the two other guys with me who had really good bodies, much older to me, with a lot more experience. But I believed a lot in myself. I was pretty delusional, and I think that delusion is also sometimes important. People think that just because I become a Mr. Gay India, that it is a little less dignified or it is a little less respected than any other pageantry like Miss India or Mr. India. And I have experienced it. I won Mr. Gay India in a country which was very much living with Section 377. My win was not as celebrated around the country as it is perhaps today. A lot of that phobia is very intrinsic. These days, you might not come across someone who would extrinsically come and say, I hate you because you're gay. But it will happen in a workspace where they have to do a project and choose 5 people, and they will not unknowingly not choose you because you're gay. Every new space that I go to, I have to literally create a sense of respect in other people's minds for me. And it's taxing sometimes. Knowing that you will have to go through the same discrimination again and again and again, it's irritating sometimes. Post Mr. Gay India, I had met someone very influential from the community, and we were supposed to work on a very big campaign. I met him and I realized that that person had ulterior motives, and I actually was caught up in a situation where I became a victim actually of abuse. I was shocked when it had happened, and I think that night I still remember, like I sort of grew up from being like a 13-year-old kid in my head to being like a 25-year-old man. For the longest time I used to feel that, I was responsible for putting myself in that situation, but then over time my friends and people who really value me made me realize that it was not my fault. art is genderless and dreams are limitless. You can be anything in your life irrespective of what gender you associate yourself with or what gender identity you associate yourself with. There is no point in fitting in. You just have to fit out.
I don't want another kid out there to hate him or herself. I want teachers to talk about alternate sexuality in their classes. I want parents to realize and understand how lucky and blessed they are to have kids who are queer. I want people to stop caricaturing us. Gay is not a cuss word. Gay is being you, and you're strong and you're beautiful.
I had become completely enamored by the wonderful work that the designers in India were doing. That's how I started understanding fashion, started understanding references. I was really involved in it, so I would really study a lot, read a lot about fashion. And not fashion as something that would just make you look pretty, but fashion as a powerful tool. When the government really comes out and says that it's okay for you to be gay and it's okay for you to do what you want to do in your personal space, it's none of our business. It's incredibly empowering to know that I'm not illegal in my own country anymore. And this is really the beginning of a lot of important things that are supposed to follow. Right after the judgment, there were so many MNCs all of a sudden who would call me up and they would want me on their panel because all of a sudden everybody wanted to have an inclusive list of people in their employees list, and they all wanted to also come up with LGBTIQ cells or cells against exploitation. Very fundamental right to dignity is what really you get once 377 was over. I always say this to myself still, that the person that you look into the mirror is that one person who you should love the most and you should respect the most.